Self-sabotage is not a weakness, it is misunderstood intelligence. You're not lazy. You're not broken. You're just protecting yourself wrongly, and you don't even realize it. That moment when you pull away just as things are about to improve? That isn't failure, it's survival. A part of you learned long ago, if I don't try, I can't fail, or if I stay small, I won't be hurt. These beliefs aren't excuses. They're emotional safety nets your mind created when life taught you that visibility equals vulnerability. Self-sabotage starts out as a way to protect you, to keep you from getting hurt, rejected, or overwhelmed. But it becomes dangerous when it sticks around for too long. That's when it quietly takes over your life as it no longer becomes a defense, it becomes your default identity. You stop saying, "I messed up," and start believing, "This is just who I am." You begin to expect things not to go smoothly as you wish, and instead of hoping for better, you call that pain reality. You push people away, miss out on chances, or feel stuck in your health, and somehow, you still don't feel safe. That's because you're no longer protecting yourself as you wish, rather you're punishing yourself unknowingly. The subtle reality of self-sabotage is that it doesn't announce itself. It whispers. It dresses up as logic and is often represented in statements like, "Maybe I'm not ready, this isn't the right time," or "I should wait until I'm more prepared." It pretends to be a strategy. But it is actually fear that is refined, rehearsed, and disguised intentionally. It doesn't ruin you with chaos. It delays you with doubt. Even the most dangerous sabotage doesn't feel dangerous at all, it feels reasonable, mature, even wise. It mimics growth. It sounds like caution. But true wisdom should move you forward, and sabotage is not an offspring of wisdom since it keeps you circling the same fear, the same doubts, and never quite arriving, only spinning for a long time. That's not a strategy. That's motion sickness disguised as progress. And here's the paradox of self-sabotage: what you keep fighting against isn't a flaw. It's an outdated protector, but a loyal one. Self-sabotage isn't trying to destroy your life as many has believed it to be. It is actually trying to protect you from a pain it still believes is inevitable. It learns survival through avoidance. That's why every excuse, delay, or withdrawal is a message: I'm scared, I don't feel worthy, I'm not used to being seen. But self-sabotage doesn't need fixing. It needs understanding. You don't fix it, you outgrow it. The correct diagnosis of self-sabotage at its early stage has been hindered because many have assumed it to be low self-esteem. Self-sabotage and inferiority complex are often deeply intertwined, yet they are not the same thing. Self-sabotage doesn't necessarily replace inferiority complex, it evolves out of it. Think of it this way: inferiority complex is the belief, while self-sabotage is the behavior that grows from that belief. The following is a 3 self-sabotage tests anyone can take to determine accurately at its early stage when one has slipped into it unknowingly. The first test is the missed opportunity test. This test helps to check if you're the one holding yourself back, even when good things come your way. The following questions need to be asked and self-examination needs to be carried out. They include: did I walk away from something I really wanted, even when I had the chance? Did I give an excuse that sounded reasonable but deep down didn't feel right? Did I feel nervous or uncomfortable when things started going well? Was I secretly waiting for something to go wrong? Did I distract myself or quit too soon? If your answers to 3 or more questions is yes, you may be stopping yourself from moving forward, not because you're lazy or afraid, but because you're unsure you deserve it or fear losing it, and that's self-sabotage. The second test is the self-talk mirror. This test helps to find out if your inner voice is helping you or quietly tearing you down. Now, think of 3 decisions you made lately, whether big or small. And ask yourself the following questions. Was my first thought full of fear or self-doubt? Did I try to play it safe even when I wanted more? Did I wait for someone else's approval before acting? Did I talk myself out of it? Did I focus more on the risks than the rewards? If most of your answers are yes, you may be unknowingly using your own voice to talk yourself out of progress. That's self-sabotage, coming from fear, not logic. The third test is the life pattern check. This test helps to spot repeated behaviors that are quietly holding your life back. Now, look at the past year and ask yourself the following questions. Did I start things with energy, but give up halfway, more than once? Did I avoid finishing something because of fear, not time? Did I blame my mood, timing, or other people for not following through? Do I keep finding myself in the same problems over and over? Have I almost succeeded a lot, but it never quite works out? If these patterns sound familiar, there's a good chance you're unintentionally sabotaging your own efforts, not because you can't succeed, but because part of you is afraid of what success will demand from you. These tests help you notice self-sabotage before it becomes your normal. The correct diagnosis of self-sabotage is essential for its recovery. Self-sabotage is a stronghold in the mind, but the war is not won by fighting those self-limiting thoughts and behavioral patterns. Self-sabotage loses its power the moment you stop fighting it and start listening. When you stop judging the behavior and begin decoding its message, you stop treating the symptoms and start healing the wounds. Because protection is not the same as peace, and hiding is not the same as healing. That's when self-sabotage stops being the enemy and becomes the doorway. Not to destruction, but to deeper self-trust. Because even your resistance has always had one goal, to keep you safe. Now, it's time to teach it a new definition of safety, one where you're allowed to grow. Overcoming self-sabotage doesn't start with discipline, it starts with understanding. The first step is to ask yourself, what am I really afraid of? You might be avoiding success, not failure. Sometimes we're scared of what will happen if things actually go right, pressure, expectations, change. Naming that fear is the beginning of taking away its power. Next, stop trying to overhaul your whole life overnight. Instead, make one small promise to yourself each day, like journaling for 5 minutes or drinking a full glass of water. Keeping that promise builds self-trust, which is far more effective than relying on motivation. Third, start allowing yourself to feel good without guilt. If something goes well and you feel the urge to ruin it or run away, pause and say, I'm safe. I deserve this. Lastly, begin living like the version of yourself you want to become, not forever, just today. Ask, what would future me do now? And do one small thing that matches it. When you consistently show up in this way, you stop seeing yourself as the problem and start becoming the solution. Change doesn't feel forced anymore, it starts feeling like home. If this spoke to something deep in you, don't keep it to yourself, share it with someone who needs to break free too. Hit subscribe and join a growing community unlearning old patterns and uncovering raw truths at untold life realities. And drop a comment below, what part hit you the hardest? Your story might be the mirror someone else needs. Let's rewrite the narrative, together.